Okay, let's tee up the R3 approach again and provoke some thought, generate some enthusiasm, and help to correctly and sufficiently direct some actions. Again, in the R3 approach, we continuously refer to facts and realities as they relate to genuinely improving at the game. And genuinely improving at the game means that we're truly raising our level of mindfulness as a golfer. And remember, we refer to our overall strategy, and that is that we continue to have fun with the improvement process, developing our games to the point where they can be seen and felt to be mechanically sound, physically athletic, and tactically fluid processes for playing the game, right? Okay, well, again, if we're truly raising that level of mindfulness as a golfer, we understand that we're directing our thoughts and actions from different perspectives as they relate to our golf swings and actually playing the game. Well, let's go ahead and direct some thoughts and actions toward a couple of the different perspectives. Again, in terms of genuinely improving, we know that it's going to happen from these different perspectives. The mechanical perspective and the physical perspective, the what axis. In the R3 approach, we talk about the fact that when we're talking about physical stuff, that has to do with our body. That's perspective number 3 in the R3 approach, right? The physical perspective. And then when we're talking about mechanical stuff, we're talking about the golf club, perspective number 2 in the R3 approach. So again, with this in mind, let's have a couple of let's have a look at a few thoughts relative to the physical mechanical processes that we should be directing our thoughts and actions toward. Here I'm working on the my spine angle and the swing path. The spine angle, colored in blue there, it's going to have to do with our body. That is, when we set up to the ball, we're going to establish our spine angle. We want to make sure during the ready process, when we're getting ready to make our swing, that we're getting into a really good athletic setup position. That means our spine is set good and straight. If we are, in fact, tilting at the hips, we're going to see that our bodies will, in fact, tilt over in such a way that our spine stays really straight. And as you can see here, my belt is actually tilted downward so that the back of my belt is higher than the front of my belt. Too often we'll get a little bit lazy in terms of how we're setting up to it, and we'll set with our belt line kind of level to the ground, which is the way it would normally be when we're standing straight up. And when we do this, you'll see a golfer, their spine angle in this case becomes a little bit bent or a little bit bowed in terms of how they end up setting up to the ball. That spine angle is very important in terms of establishing a good spine angle. When we're not tilting our hips downward like this, the spine gets kind of bent in that manner there, so that there's a curvature in the spine actually. So we need to make sure that we're setting up with a good straight spine angle. That would give us the sensation that we're actually pulling our shoulders back too, again, instead of kind of slouching to the ball in such a way that we will shrug our shoulders forward. So, bottom line here, in terms of physically setting up to the ball in an athletic manner, we want to get that good spine angle established before we even begin to take that club back. And then the green line represents the mechanical aspect of our swing path, or our swing plane, as it's referred to. And then when we actually begin our golf swing, what we want to be sensing is that our shoulders are in fact taking our arms back. Here, what I'm really trying to sense is an early separation between my shoulders and my hips. In other words, I really don't want to be spinning my hips or having my hips rotate, my legs rotate as I start that club back. So what I'm really trying to sense here is an early separation between my shoulders and my hips. When we get that good early separation at the beginning of the swing, it'll allow us to torque our body up a little bit better, a little bit tighter during our backswing. So then as we approach the top of the swing, transition point of the swing, what we want to be trying to feel there as best we can is a maximum shoulder turn with minimal lower body pivoting or hip rotation. So in this case, you'll see golfers sometimes when they're overactive with their lower body, the left knee will be kicking in a little too much there, getting too much separation between the knees as we make that backswing movement. So by getting that good early separation between the shoulders and the hips, it creates a good early torquing between our shoulders and our hips. Creates a real tight backswing movement. Coils our body up a little bit tighter, in other words. And you can see, mechanically speaking, I'm working the club up the plane of the swing there. And that's a good mechanically sound backswing movement where the club's working up the plane of the swing, as you can see there. And then as we approach that the top of the swing area, in this case it's a little bit of a shorter swing because I'm really focusing on trying to, again, get that separation between my shoulders and my knees actually down there. And that creates a little tighter backswing movement, which again is good because it creates a really a kind of a maximum shoulder turn, minimum arm swing movement, which makes for a good mechanically sound tight swing action. And then as we transition through the top of the swing and initiate that go move, the downswing movement, what we're sensing here is kind of a downward compression where we're feeling as though, almost as though we're beginning to sit or squat in order to start the downswing movement. And that helps to get that club back down onto that plane line so that we do get the club planing out good as it enters that 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock impact zone. Now, as that's happening, as that club is planing out and we get that downward compression, you can see how I'm maintaining my spine angle really good at this point. Quite often we'll see at this point in the swing where golfers begin to stand up, in which case the butt area comes in and the shoulders move back. There's a straightening of the spine angle at this point. If we're going to maintain a good, or build, let's say, a good physically athletic, mechanically sound swing action, we should direct some thought and action toward the process of keeping this good spine angle as we make this, enter this area, the 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock impact zone area there. And as we do that, what will happen is our hips will rotate. Again, it's interesting to watch in terms of that belt area that I mentioned earlier. It starts off at in that tilted position, and if we are in fact keeping a good spine angle as we make that downswing movement, see that belt continues to remain in that tilted position as opposed to flattening out, as I was just mentioning. So we get that good pivot action working through this part of the swing, where you can again see my belt where it stays right, continues to stay in that same angled position as I enter that 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock impact zone with the hips rotating good. Again, the club's planing out nicely through there, through that part of the swing. And then after we've completed the motion through that 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock impact zone down there where the ball is, it's then that we'll begin to come out of that spine angle position and go ahead and straighten up into the finish of the swing. All in all here, I mean, I'm just, again, kind of really focusing on mechanical. That would be the golf club, working through that green line, that plane line, and the physical, that would be my spine angle and pivot action. Combining these two perspectives of the golf swing would be contributing toward fulfilling the overall strategy in the R3 approach of developing a mechanically sound, physically athletic golf swing movement. So again, just kind of slide back through the video here and check out these positions. And then again, when if we're effectively working on this while we're on the practice tee, it's really not too interested actually in the results that we're getting. We're more interested in the technique or the movements that we're making. It's too easy for us when we're on the practice tee to be overly concerned about results that we're getting. Obviously, the results that we're getting are important, but in terms of truly, I mean genuinely improving the mechanical movements and the physical positions that we're putting the club in, when we are doing technique-based practicing like I'm doing here, we're more interested in and focused on those movements and those positions that we're trying to get. So again, very good information here in terms of what it genuinely means to direct our thoughts and actions towards the right things in the right way relative to developing a more mechanically sound and physically athletic golf swing movement. Okay, if you want to find out a little bit more about the R3 approach and how all this stuff ties together in terms of fulfilling our overall strategy in the R3 approach, and again that is to continue enjoying the process of doing good work, developing our games to the point where they can be seen and felt to be mechanically sound, physically athletic, and tactically fluid processes for playing the game. Check out more about the R3 approach. You can find some of that information at MikeLawrenceGolf.com. Okay, so as we always say in the R3 approach, let's continue doing good work.